Well, with critical issues swirling around everywhere, Mark Latham is a breath of fresh air. Mark, thank you for your time. Here he is again. The University of Sydney trainee teachers are in open revolt, dissatisfied with lecturers copying and pasting old slideshows and instructing teachers to make, quote, activism explicit once they get a job in schools. That wouldn't surprise you, would it?
No, it wouldn't. Our schools, Alan, are being overrun by political activism and political ideology. In New South Wales, the Education Minister, Sarah Mitchell, has said she wants politics out of the classroom, and these sorts of issues are the preserve of families. Parents can talk about ethical, moral, social values and political content, but, shamefully, last week we saw that dreadful display at Linfield Learning Centre where 11-year-olds were writing up pigs out of the country in a reference to the New South Wales police and attacking white people on these posters as part of lessons to do with Black Lives Matter. So when Black Lives Matter, a neo-Marxist organisation that's against the nuclear family and in favour of gender fluidity, gets into the classrooms and tragically the minds of 11-year-olds, you know that our system, our school system, is overrun with this political activism.
Well, it is, Mark. I mean, these are courses at the university, as you know, which are training teachers, and there are lecture slides containing phrases like, be wary of meritocracy, gender is socially and culturally constricted, make inequity, power and activism explicit in your teaching. God, what on earth are we talking?
Well, Alan, it's a huge problem, and the New South Wales government does have the power to refuse to take teachers from these political sinkholes, places that are training political activists. The New South Wales government can say, let's have a look at your coursework, let's have a look at what you're teaching the teachers to be, and we won't take you. We won't accredit your institution for the purposes of new teachers coming into New South Wales schools. But Sydney University is bad, Alan, but I'd suggest that Western Sydney University is even worse. At the parliamentary hearing on my parental rights bill that Catherine Deeves appeared at last week, we had a Western Sydney University so-called researcher there promoting a book called Schools as Queer Transformative Spaces. And I've got here a book that also comes from Western Sydney University. This is written by two of their lecturers for the purposes of educating 3- and 4-year-olds. So this is preschool child education, and they're going to teach the teachers post-structuralism, cultural studies, critical theory, post-colonialism, critical race theory, feminist perspectives and queer theory. And they're going to cover issues that they say impact on the lives of a 3- and 4-year-old child, including globalisation, neoliberalism, new racism, migration, refugees, homophobia, heterosexism and constructions of childhood. Now, you've really got to wonder, what's that got to do with the education of a 3- and 4-year-old, a 3-year-old who's, just learning how to go to the toilet and how to talk to people. So it's quite remarkable that this political activism is right through the university system to the point of turning preschools into political laboratories.
Yeah, but see, then you get the federal minister who's providing money for all this saying, pardon me, examples like this are exactly why I've launched a 6-month review of teacher education courses. I mean, all they do is talk and express outrage, but the problem's multiplied. Tudge said, I'll be intolerant of courses that aren't based on practical evidence-based teaching methods. Sarah Mitchell, the New South Wales Minister, says a teacher's role is never to be an activist. Mark, we know all that, but they are activists. What are we doing about it?
Well, they should be driven out of the system, Alan. You don't need reviews and you don't need to talk about it a great deal. These universities have got it in their textbooks. So the minister just needs to get his vast department in Canberra and the state minister the same, her vast department at Parramatta, to go through the textbooks and the learning materials for new teachers. Anyone with any common sense would be horrified by this stuff. You think, oh, well, they're doing politics for high school students. They're trying to politicise and in some cases sexualise 3- and 4-year-olds. That's what these universities are on about. So you've got to tell them that they can't produce teachers, no point the students going there if they can't ultimately teach in a school. So the power belongs with the federal and state ministers, but they're too weak to exercise that power.
Good on you. Just a quick one before you go, and we will talk about this next week as it gets closer. The Upper Hunter.
Well, Alan, there's two issues there. One is coal jobs and how we keep them and how we preserve them into the future. And the other is stunning National Party neglect. I've been through a lot of electorates over the years. I've never seen a place with such a paucity of public infrastructure. And each year out of Singleton and Muswellbrook local government areas, there's $1.1 billion of mining royalty that goes down to the Treasury coffers in Sydney, but only 10% of that actually comes back into the Upper Hunter electorate. There's no big signature project there. There should be, for instance, 4-lane dual carriageway road that extends right through past Scone and up towards Tamworth.
Well, let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that. We've run out of time, but let's have a look at that next week. There's plenty to talk about. But I tell you what, you're the hope of the side. Hang in there,
Thanks,
Mark.
Alan.
Hang in there. There he is, Mark.
More
Latham.
than hanging in there, we're fighting back. More than hanging in.
Yeah, more than hanging in. Isn't he wonderful? He is the leader of One Nation, and they've got an outstanding candidate in that Upper Hunter by-election.